Dun,
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 dun.
dun,
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 dun.
It's enough. 284 games down, one to go. We haven't a moment to waste. Me and my pals have to spoil Super Bowl 58 for you by telling you the final score and all the best props available. And oh boy, are there a lot of them. First, though, as gentlemen, we must pay homage to the greatest hero in Super Bowl history, perhaps even human history, Max McGee, receiver of the first ever Super Bowl touchdown. He scored 2 that day, both while hungover or even drunk. Anyway, tip of the cat to you, McGee. And real quick, let's settle some hash here. Everybody does it every Super Bowl season. Why not us too? The 3 best Super Bowls among the previous 57, win, play, show style. In third place, Super Bowl 25, Giants over the Bills, the Norwood miss. How did Jeff Hostetler not fumble that ball in the end zone when Bruce Smith raked his wrist there? Second place, Super Bowl 13, Steelers, Cowboys for the second time in 4 years. Pro football's twin dynasties hook up, and again, might is right. And the best Super Bowl, Super Bowl 49, Pats over Hawks, Malcolm Butler. A receiver pooped a football as a way of celebration. By the way, don't be upset, Steelers fans. Super Bowl 43 wasn't the best game. It doesn't even make the top 3. It just had the 2 best plays in Super Bowl history. Now that we've settled that hash, let's get to the next one. Like I say, lots to get through. How are you, Kevin Hench Eddie Spaghetti? You ready for Super Bowl 58?
Oh, of course. It's so easy to be excited and relaxed when your team is not in the Super Bowl. Like I was at Disneyland last weekend and everyone's sporting the Niners and Chiefs gear. And I was kind of like, whew, stressful week for you guys. Like it's a working week if your team's in the Super Bowl. I mean, you rattled off those incredible games. If your team's in the Super Bowl, like Patriots 13, Rams 3 is an incredible Super Bowl memory for me because all that matters is your team wins. You don't care if anyone's entertained when your team's in the Super Bowl, but when they're not, you're looking for a good game, and obviously we should have one with these 2 very evenly matched teams.
Well, if I were going to be Davy Downer, I would have given you the 3 worst Super Bowls, and rest assured that 13-3 result would have made the list. Broncos and Falcons also would have been on there. We don't have time for this. You went to Disneyland before the Super Bowl. Let's figure out who's going to go to Disneyland after the Super Bowl. All the rest of it, let's start it off with perhaps the most discussed figure in this game, this side of Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Travis Kelce. And let's start it off with the props available on him. If you believe he gets the first touchdown of the game, you get that at 7-1. If you really want to roll the dice and live it up instead of just survive, 2 or more touchdowns for him pays out at 4-1. His total in receiving yards stands at 70.5. His reception count is at 6.5. Any of these appeal to you, Kevin Hench?
I feel like, I've been watching the Chiefs actually seem to rope it up with Kelce in the regular season, less and less and less. And now he's getting 30% of the targets in the postseason. I feel like the Niners are not going to miss that reality and that they're going to try to take away the middle of the field from Travis Kelce and make those outside receivers beat them. So on that list of Kelce props, I would go under. I'm going to stay away from Kelce, but if I was forced to, I would say that Warner and Greenlaw and the Niners over the middle clean it up a little bit.
I absolutely agree. Spoiler alert, get ready. This will be a recurring theme for me. I think Fred Warner and company will have 87's number. They will limit his catches there. I think we got a little warped by what Kelce did in that tapping into the Fountain of Youth game in the title game over there in Charm City. I don't think he'll be as available to number 15 as he was in that game. I'm going under on this one. Call me a hater if you want. Eddie Spaghetti, any thoughts on Kelce?
I guess this is a 3-car garage for this kind of prop. I am under Kelce, 7.5 receiving yards, plus 105, under the 6.5 receptions at plus 115. I think he's going to end with 6 receptions. I think he'll end with upper 60, 67 yards receiving. Kyle Shanahan and company, they're not doing their job if they're going to let Travis Kelce run all over them. Like, you have 2 weeks to prepare for this game. The Niners' bread and butter on defense is plugging up the middle of the field. Like Hench mentioned, the great linebackers they have, they should be able to cover him and stop him. That being said, we have seen Patrick Mahomes look to him first, but I think it's going to be more in like a bailout situation, kind of, the short, like 6, 7, 8 yard button hooks just to get the ball out of his hands. But I think the Niners will do a good job at not letting Kelce be the star of this game. And like you said, Shek, to force him to throw the ball outside. So I'm going to go under here.
All right. So, yes, 3-car garage indeed to start us off. Next, let's turn to Mr. Irrelevant here. I have my theories that we talk about on the -3 podcast proper. Why Football America isn't more enthused about these Niners, led by a guy who looks like he's 11 years old, Mr. Irrelevant. This should be a feel-good story. Anywho, his pass yards total, I should say, Brock Purdy, 247 and a half. His total touchdown passes stand at 1.5. I like this one. If you, again, believe in the Niners and their chances of winning this game, 3 touchdown passes pays out at +240. His interceptions, if he throws 1, you can bet that over. The juice is on the under, though, at +110. 0 interceptions for him. Plus Eddie Spaghetti. He's the first one I'm aware of to circle this in our football society. Watch these QBs who don't identify as running QBs and their rush totals. It's at 12.5 now. It started off at 3.5. I think that is the -3 difference, moving that line. Kevin Hench, any of these jump out to you with number 13 on the Niners?
I actually like the unders on Purdy, not because I think he's going to deliver a stinker, but because I think the Niners are going to be able to run the ball against the Chiefs. I think Purdy's not going to be asked to do that much. Not a lot being made out of the fact that the Chiefs are down half of their defensive line. I mean, you're going up against a big physical team with big physical mashers. And I just think that McCaffrey and Debo are going to turn the corner and run roughshod on them. Therefore, I don't think Purdy's going to have to throw for 250 yards. He could throw for 180 yards in a victory.
I like it. And by the way, just to make it clear, I am following the Spaghetti train here, and I'm going over Brock Purdy's rush yards, those 12.5. Spaghetti, how say you?
I think we're talking about Brock Purdy rushing stats, but I'm going to stay away from the passing stuff. But I just think, through the first 2 games here, he has 11 carries for 62 rushing yards. Like, Brock Purdy's doing this. And I think this is a scenario where Karlaftis and Chris Jones are going to get after him. He's going to have to scramble. But, we like to poo-poo lately on Brock Purdy. But I think what he's really good at is moving in the pocket. He has pretty good vision. He can go through his progressions quickly. Nothing's open. The Chiefs defense is good. The cornerbacks are playing exceptional. He's going to take off. And I think the 3.5 rushing attempts is very easy to get over. And I think the 12.5 might be even easier because, he had almost 50 rushing yards versus the Lions. I know the Lions defense, not the same thing as Kansas City, but Brock Purdy lately has found the openings in the field and he's going to take it. So I definitely like the Brock Purdy over there. To give you the exact odds, over the 3.5 rushing attempts, +130, over the 12.5 rushing yards, -120. I like both.
And oddly athletic. I mean, that 3rd and 4 scramble, I said it last week, he looked like Tony Dorsett on the 99-yard run. Like, he was flying. Like, guys were not catching him. So just real quick, another prop that I really like that goes with the Purdy scrambling, Chiefs under 2.5 sacks. I mean, they're dinged up on the D line, and Purdy gets it out pretty fast, and he's mobile. So I don't think they get him on the ground behind the line of scrimmage 3 times. -110.
I like it. And we'll get to some interesting sack bets you can place in a second here. First, though, let's do touchdown score, one of the more popular bets every Super Bowl here. Christian McCaffrey leads the way at -225. Ergo, ain't worth it unless you're going to take it up to 2 touchdowns or more for him. Same deal, I guess, with Pacheco, -125. The juice kicks in with Debo at +130 and on there. Kevin Hench, how say you? Who's getting in the end zone here? Actually, I'll give you one. Rashee Rice at +135, I think, is a solid play there to find the end zone at some point over 60 minutes. How say you?
Yeah, the McCaffrey anytime touchdown is a little too expensive. But, one of the things we do on this pregame show is we tell you exactly what's going to happen. So
Yes. Ooh.
Chiefs are going to win the toss. They're going to defer. Then they're going to wish they hadn't.
Hold on. Okay. Listen, audible then. If you wanted to have the coin chat, let's have it, friend, because you know what? We've done it all year long here on the 15-minute pregame show. The Anton Chigurh coin flip of the week, the tightest number out there. Straight up, do you call heads or tails, Kevin Hench? Here's your second shot at getting this answer right, because there is a correct answer to heads or tails.
My whole life, I've called tails, and it burned me when Shaq threw me out of the fantasy league. Hey, guess who gets to throw someone out this year? Oh, well, that's not what we're talking about.
No,
I would call heads. Anton Chigurh.
That's the way to do it. The Cohen brothers were telling the world, this is the world turning out the right way. Heads up. When you go tails, you're saying you're a cynic. You think everything's backward up. See, heads is the correct call. Okay, so they're going to win the toss. Continue.
Yeah, so Chiefs win the toss and then defer. Niners, first down, McCaffrey, 8 yards behind Trent Williams. Second down, what if I just the whole game? Second down, play
I'd love it. Let me settle in.
Action.
Let me get cozy.
I can get it in 15 minutes. Second down, play action to Ayuk over the middle for a first down. Anyway, Niners score on their first possession. Specifically, Christian McCaffrey scores plus 270 for the first touchdown scorer. Much more attractive price than anytime touchdown scorer. So I like that a lot as part of my McCaffrey package.
I'm a no fun bum with that one. First touchdown bets are fluky, obviously. Eddie Spaghetti, how say you?
I think McCaffrey first touchdown actually jumped up to plus 340, Hench. So way better odds there. I think I'm not a big first touchdown scorer either, but I'm not going to pull a Hench and give you the play-by-play. But I do think the guy who scores first in this game is on the Chiefs side and is their running back Isaiah Pacheco, and that gets you at plus 550. But the anytime touchdown score that I really like is Deebo Samuel at plus 130. Why? We thought he was going to be injured last week. It's going to be the Ayuk game. It's going to be the Kittle game. His shoulder's all banged up. Is he going to go or not? And then if he's going to play. Okay, cool. And then what happens? He's not a decoy. He has like 9 catches, 8 catches. He's one of the best, most versatile players in this league. I think he's going to get a ball in like a quick slant and take it to the house. He's just, a jack of all trades, a guy that I would love on my team. And I think he's going to have a big game in the receiving realm in this one. So I like Deebo to score plus 130. And I do think Pacheco will score as well.
Next, I do want to get to the first score of the game. Hench just gave us his choice there very quickly. Eddie Spaghetti's partner on waiver wire, Jen Piacenti, has a fascinating breakdown of the pregame festivity that people care about the most this side of the coin toss, which is the national anthem. She says under 90.5. Go find her analysis of the reason why Reba McEntire will go under. And she is as consistent at calling this one, is Piacente, as anybody under the sun. I do legitimately suspect that the line's going to move or that the juice is going to change a little bit as a result of the Songbirds analysis here. Okay, some quick random props here. Team totals. I think KC at 23.5 is interesting. Obviously, this is dictated by how you think this game is going to break. I think with the number at 47.5, Niners team total 24.5. Do you think there's going to be overtime? Do you think there's going to be a safety in the game? I think that's a great bet at 9-1 to make. It's fun. It's always nice to see the greatest, most exotic symbol in all of officiating. And I'm not just talking about football. Fun bet there, 9-1. First touchdown, Hench says it's going to be a San Francisco touchdown. If he's correct about that, that pays out at 185. So get in on that one. And you can also bet your receiving yards leader. And I think I'm with Eddie Spaghetti on Deebo Samuel having a nice game. Plus 550 if he leads both teams in receiving yards. I like that play there. Hench, how say you?
Well, it's interesting. First of all, who bets no safety? Like there's the only reason to bet the safety line is if you're betting safety, which is still insane. But one reason I think, the Niners touchdown is a better bet than Chiefs touchdown to start the game is Shanahan less confident on 4th and 3 from 48 yards with Moody than Andy Reid would be with Butker, right? So it's like when you want touchdowns, you want the coach to have a little bit of a question mark about his kicker, which Reed obviously doesn't have. And it was part of the flawed analysis of all the Dan Campbell stuff. Everyone was like, they could have gone up 17. Yeah, if the guy makes the field goal. Like, you got to add in the part where the guy has to make the high pressure field goal. And I think the Niners more likely to go 4th and 2, 4th and 3 with a less proven kicker. So definitely, like, as I said, McCaffrey to score the first touchdown, the Niners to score the first touchdown, bet that however you want. And then I like, I guess I'll just give it out now. I don't know if we were building to this, who knows, in 15 minutes, but I like both teams to go over slightly. 27-24 is my final. Niners, which puts the game over and puts both teams over. That feels like a modest final. That doesn't feel like a shootout. I'm kind of surprised at the.
Well, no, I'm going to hold off on giving my final score because I know everyone within the sound of my voice is sitting on the edge of their seat for my final pick. All I will tell you is 23.5. That seems, you say, modest for the Kansas City Chiefs. I like that number going under there. Eddie Spaghetti, how say you?
Yeah, a couple other bets I like. I do like Moody over 1.5 field goals. It's minus 110. For regards Christian McCaffrey here, I have CMC under the 129.5 total yards. That's combining reception yards and rushing yards. Obviously, it's plus 100. I think he's going to be very close to that number. I think you could see like an 80-yard-ish game on the ground, even like 25-30 in the air. That'll still put him under that mark. So I think he'll have a good game, just not over. He's not going to hit 130 or above there. I have Patrick Mahomes to throw exactly 2 touchdown passes. That's plus 200. So I'm a fan of that one. And I also think that Deebo Samuel under 15.5 rushing yards. I think he's going to have a really big game in through the air, but I think on the ground, not as much. They have not run the ball with him a lot this postseason. I think it's probably because of the injury. 0 rushing attempts versus Green Bay, only 3 rushing attempts versus Detroit for only 7 yards. So I think the 15.5 is a large number versus a very, very good Kansas City defense. I think the last time he eclipsed the 15.5-yard mark was way back on New Year's, sort of three rushes, 335 yards back then. So I think he's going to be more in the passing game. And I will save, I guess, the rest of my bets for later, the big reveals.
Okay, here we go very quickly on Isaiah Pacheco. His rush yard total is 66.5, receiving total 16.5 to score a touchdown. We told you, but 2 touchdowns or more, plus 450. Interesting if you're on the Chiefs side of things. Hench, any of these jump out to you?
I think the Chiefs are, it's funny. Jordan Love and Jared Goff exposed some that Niner secondary a bit, and I do think the action's going to be on the outside. You mentioned Rashee Rice to score a touchdown. I think that's an excellent bet. So I actually think the Niners beef in their front 7 contains Pacheco, but I love Mahomes over 261.5. I think that feels like a lock that guy is gonna.
Well, good news there, because that number's moving down. You can get it at 259.5 as well. So that only enhances where Hench is coming down here. Spaghetti.
In regards to Pacheco, I said before, I think he'll be the first touchdown score. That's plus 550. I also like Pacheco under that 2.5 reception mark is plus 115. I know you're going to say, well, last week he had 4 catches. Yeah, that was just the Pacheco game. He had 24 carries in the game as well. But versus Miami and versus Buffalo, only 1 target in each of those games, 1 reception. So I think this is going to be a game where he will be effective on the ground, so to speak. But I don't think Mahomes going to look through him on the through the air, which is something that Andy Reid normally does with the running backs. But Pacheco is this guy, just this hard-nosed runner. So I think he's going to be more pounding up the middle and bleeding the clock out than I think they're going to be trying to game plan screens to him.
Next, let's talk about the GOAT to be, especially if he can win this one. The rush yards for number 15, Patrick Mahomes, 26.5. They are paying attention to what Eddie Spaghetti's been pointing to. 26.5 is heavy. Touchdown passes. If you go over, no value there at minus 160. But if you think he only throws 1, or shame the devil, 0, plus 130, first touchdown score, that's not an impossibility at 16-1. I'm staying away from the GOAT here. I don't know if they're going to try to be handing the ball off a lot. I do think he's going to struggle getting that ball to 87. Hench, how say you?
I think, a lot of pass attempts, I think, for Mahomes. A lot of 3rd and 7s, which is good for his over rushing yards. Right, the more dropbacks, the more. And I do think, I think we're in the same garage. I do think Bosa gets after him, but the way rushing yards work, this ain't college football where they're subtracting those sacks. So I like Mahomes over rushing yards. And I guess I like him over 1.5 TD passes too. I do not think the Chiefs will score a rushing touchdown.
Interesting. Spaghetti.
With Mahomes' passing yard total, 261.5, I do like the over on that, -115. I think he'll be in the 270, 280 range in this game. We saw what Jared Goff did, 273 through the air. He did throw for the ball 41 times. I don't think Mahomes with the ball 40-plus range. I think they will be more balanced. But, I said last week or 2 weeks ago that the middle of the field, that's a thing where the Niners are good at stopping that. Jared Goff had no issue doing that. I don't think Mahomes will either. And like I mentioned before, you don't really get, what is the number here for if you over 1.5 touchdown passes is -160. I'm betting 2 touchdowns exactly, like I said before, so that's +200 for him to throw exactly 2. I would stay away from the rushing totals. I'm unsure with this. The number's too high. Mahomes in that category with like Lamar and Jalen Hurts, where they scramble too much. You never can really track that. So I'm going to stay away from that. But I definitely think 2 touchdown passes exactly, and I think he will be over the 261.5 yard mark.
Look at Eddie Spaghetti. He feels 284 games worth of evidence is enough for him to be exact with his bets. He knows exactly the number these guys are going to land on. Hey, real quick, one last look in the rear view mirror to see how we got there. And well, 284 games through. Wouldn't you know it? Sheck and Hench tied up, deadlocked. Spaghetti just a couple behind us there on the season. Brady Lemieux ran away with it. Brady Lemieux, of course, the ruggedly handsome aggregate of our picks. Let's wrap it up here with our game picks. First, though, because Hench mentioned CMC and how much he likes number 23 for the Niners here. His rush total, 91.5 yards. Combined rush and reception, 129.5, like Spaghetti told you there. If you go under that, it's even money. 2 or more touchdowns, +150. First touchdown score, +270. Hench, anything to add to your
I
MVP
love
pick here?
McCaffrey. I think, I like him +450 as MVP. I like longest reception over 14.5 yards. I like him over his rush total. This is not Gus Edwards. This is not the Dolphins team that didn't show up for the playoffs. This is a rugged team. This is a legitimate MVP. And the reason you would go with the running back on the Niners, I don't think anybody thinks Brock Purdy's the best player on the Niners. So, if McCaffrey gets 2 scores and 120 yards, I think the press box would be inclined to go with the best player on the Niners, and that's Christian McCaffrey.
I think that analysis is spot on. Right. Mahomes and Purdy could have identical games, and the reaction from the media and the world at large would be different. Eddie Spaghetti.
Yeah, and just to add to what Hench was saying too, especially the year where running backs were devalued, it was the big offseason talk way back in July and August before kickoff was, does McCaffrey deserve to get paid? And he had a fantastic season not getting injured. So I definitely think if the Niners win, that he's going to get that award. It just makes too much sense. There's a great story with that too, with obviously his dad playing in the league. But I'm going to go the opposite here, and I'm going to go a Chiefs victory, 24-20 over the Niners here. And I have Patrick Mahomes at +135 to win MVP. Why? Because Super Bowl MVP has become a quarterback award, just like NFL MVP, just like even the Heisman. It's pretty much always a quarterback, 32 of 1 in the history of this award. And Mahomes adds to that story. The vote is made by human beings, and they know that Mahomes is the best player in the Chiefs, and it adds to the legacy. And then now he's Brady 2.0, and we're in this next generation of another dominant quarterback. So I think it just makes too much sense there. As plus, if my predictions are correct, where he has 2 touchdown passes and over 270 passing yards, it's probably easy to give it to him. So I have them that. And if you want to be if you're siding with me and you want another fun bet instead of just going with the spread and the under, which I have, KC +3.5 and the under 51.5 is +135. I don't see reason not to take that bet. If you Patrick Mahomes and the points, Like, I look, he lives in the AFC title game. The guy's used to this. I'd be a fool not to take Mahomes and points like that. And I think because the KC defense is so good and the Niners defense is solid, not as great as KC's defense, but I think it will be a relatively lower scoring game too. So 51 under 51 and a half, I definitely see that happening. Super Bowls tend to be kind of lower scoring games anyway, outside of last year's with the Eagles and Chiefs, but the few previous before them were all lower scoring games too. So I like that bet a lot.
You know what? You're talking so much about number 15. We had the occasion to get his pick. Let's hear from him, number 15, about how he thinks this game's going to go after what's been an odyssey of a football season for him and his team.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I'll say one thing. I'm going to go out and guarantee it right now. The thing that you're going to look for this weekend that's going to come out, the final score, what it's going to be is 31-17 Chiefs. We're coming out. We're going to have ourselves a love story afterwards. I heard that Taylor and Travis are going to get engaged after the game. So everyone's going to win. The NFL is going to win. All the Swifties are going to win. And the Chiefs are going to win. So it's a win-win-win. 31-17. You heard it here first, Chiefs.
All right, there you go. And shout out to not just number 15, but to his good pal, Joey Molinaro, for that. All right, there you have it. Some insider info. You hear Eddie Spaghetti's pick. Let's get to it, shall we? Niners, Chiefs, Kansas City +2 at the time of this recording. Total 47.5. You have Spaghetti's pick. Here's Dameshek's. I kind of have tipped it already, haven't I? 26-20 Niners. I like all the talk about CMC that Hench has been pushing here today. Remember, in a league where 5 years ago it was decreed you don't use assets, you don't spend big money to get a running back, the guy who can make any person, including probably not me, but most human beings, effective running backs in the NFL, Kyle Shanahan, went out of his way to go and get CMC. That should tell you something. This is where it all comes home. It all pays off. Niners get to celebrate for the first time in 35 years. Congratulations in advance to our pal, the Dutch Mook, and all the Niners fans out there. Kevin Hench, I'll say you.
I like the Niners, as I said, 27-24. I love McCaffrey to have a big game. And this is important because Spaghetti claims to be one game behind us.
I am.
Oh, so, one game back.
Yeah,
okay.
So that's kind of important. Because
your records are 130.
Go ahead, Spaghetti.
I was going to say your records to the audience was 132, 126, and 10 pushes, and I am at 131, 127, and 10. I have KC. Obviously, you guys both have the Niners. So if I have a victory and you guys have a loss, we are now tied across.
The ultimate three-car garage. I mean, if we end the season in a three-car garage with the identical picks record, it almost makes me want to root to be wrong. But
I know in a weird way, although it's embarrassing. So
it would be incredible.
I think we have to distinguish ourselves from Eddie Spaghetti. So I'm rooting for us. I'm rooting for the home team here, Hench.
Niners 27, Chiefs 24, and McCaffrey's the MVP.
And Brady Lemieux, again, the ruggedly handsome aggregate of our picks. He says it's the Niners, 24.3, 22.6. So in other words, he likes the Niners to win, and that's it. He says a very tight one. MVP pick last. I guess we've kind of tipped where we are here. Save mine, I think. We go MVP last because by telling you who we have there tells you who we think is going to win the game. This is I'm swinging for the fences here. I'm going Nick Bosa. By the way, plus 110 that he gets a sack in the game. Those sack totals are a lot of fun to go through in terms of the props. Nick Bosa, as I say, is the one that jumps out to me. If he gets the MVP, 75-1, I do think this is going to be a difference. I think there's a lot of value in the Niners at large, and specifically with that pass rush, because Detroit slowed them down, and everyone is overreacting, in my opinion, to the ineffective pass rush of the Niners. They just played Sewell and company, you know that? And the Chiefs do not have the same pair of tackles that Detroit has, ergo Bosa and company feast. That's my MVP pick. Hench goes McCaffrey, plus 450. And did you say, Eddie Spaghetti, formally your MVP pick?
I gave out. It's Mahomes. Mahomes. Like I said, I'm not going to go against Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to stop fighting history, and he's going to, I think he's going to win. He's the best player on the best team. So, but I have a quick question on your Bosa. Just give out his stat line. What does his stat line have to be to win MVP in the Super Bowl?
Well, I refer you to in the 21st century, in fact, in the last decade, look at the difference that Von Miller made. This was you knew going into that one that Superman versus the no-fly zone was going to be critical. And same applies here. Nick Bosa gets there twice, strip sacks Mahomes, let's say, forces a turnover. I think that could be enough in a game that probably isn't soaring in terms of points like a lot of people. Like Hench and I, Hench is going over. I'm going under, as you can see here. I mean, you talk about a modest point total, 27-20. How's that hit your ear? That's under based on where we stand right now. Go ahead.
What's the Chiefs right tackle? What's Taylor? What's his name? Taylor?
Yeah.
This is a good question. He's probably going to line up right next to Pacheco, right? I mean, he lines up so deep and like he doesn't line up on the line. And will they flag him at any point in the game? Because with Bosa hovering over him, he's going to keep creeping back further and further to catch Bosa, 8 yards deep, which just, I mean, drives these defensive ends berserk because obviously if the tackle is allowed to start deeper, it just makes it harder to get around him. And it's like, it's not legal. You see these lines, like part of the reason Tony looked so far off sides against the Bills is these lines banana backwards. None of the tackles are on the line, but Taylor is the biggest offender. But I'm with Shek that Bosa still gets him more than once.
Hey, I mean, listen, like I say, I'm trying to live here, not just survive. I'm swinging for the fences. It's our last game for many, many, many moons, but we have, as a network on Extra Points, covered it every which way. Go back and check out all the content. Joey Molinaro to start the week on -3. Sarah Tiana and I had Adam Carolla on Extra Points, Eddie Spaghetti and Jen Piacenti getting you right on Waiver Wired, Lemon Pepper Parlay, Trendy. Everybody weighing in on the biggest game in society. Do your duty as a citizen. Watch it. Bet on the bets that we just told you. Hopefully you come out a winner. And with that being said, we appreciate
hold on
you
one
watching.
sec, because I know you're going Reba McEntire under. I don't have to guess whether we went over or under.
I know.
Eddie, give us our final
14 and a half.
time
14 and a half.
on the 15-minute pregame show.
This is a double 15-minute pregame show. We're in the half-hour plus range.
Nice.
Really?
Job.
Too much? Is it too much?
It's perfect.
Is that too much show?
This is the final NFL game.
I didn't even get to my Elijah Mitchell prop. We tried to keep it, limited.
Is this the place I should talk about Pitt making the tournament? Because
No!
I think that no. Okay, all right. Then we'll do that because football season's just about over. Meantime, enjoy the game. Shout out to you, Max McGee. I hope your team wins. My team ain't in it. It's been a thin slice of heaven, football fans.